Hey guys, Roger Burnley, vocal coach here. I have something really great for you. This is a professional vocal warm up. Well, actually, what it is, it's my warm up. So I'm going to give you a little understanding of how I do my vocal warm ups. Now, I've changed this over the years because, as will happen for you, your voice is always changing and going into different places, and maybe we need to do things in a different order or change things around. So I'm just going to show you what I do because I know what my problems are. I've discovered them. Just because you discover your problem does not mean that it's going to go away instantly. And because you've been doing it for probably most of your life, it's going to take a little bit longer for it to change. That has been the case with me. And so now what I'm going to do is show you what I have to do to warm up my voice, but you may find some real value in this, and if you were to use this, because I'm doing it actually in a correct way, so no matter where your voice is now, if you follow exactly what I'm doing, you'll get a great result as well. Now, because I know that I have a habit of always falling back in my throat, being a little lazy sometimes, I will always start with my humming exercise. I'll do a little bit of that so you can hear what I'm talking about. I can't go through all of these, otherwise we'd be here for a really long time, but typically I will say that I can get through my warm-up in about 15 minutes, and if I'm really out of shape, maybe 20, but that's how long it takes. So I'm going to give you the order that I do now. And again, I've changed these around, and with my clients, I do the same thing, sometimes change them around depending on what's going on with their voice right then. Okay, the first one is the humming one. Let me do that. I'm closing here so that I can feel that these muscles are not fighting me, the swallowing muscles under your jaw. And what you saw there, you saw that as I got higher, I made even a stranger face than I was making in the beginning because I can feel that my body's starting to fight me. It wants to go back here. I don't want it to go there, so I'm going to keep it here. If you feel that, if you can't change it to keep it in that place, then stop. Don't reinforce the bad habits that we want or don't want, okay? So now, that was that one. Then the next thing that I do, because again, I still have this trouble with falling back in my throat, then I'll go to my nay, nay, nay exercise. But again, I will do this in a very specific way to compensate for what my voice has been used to doing. Let me show you that one. I know that I cannot take a breath on my first note, otherwise I'm going to go back in my throat and I'm going to be, forcing things. So I'm going to show you in kind of slow. Nay, 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 nay. So I'm starting nay, nay, nay. See where I started there? Clean. Nay, 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 nay. Then I have to have my thumb under here. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Now the reason I said I have to have my thumb under there, and I'm saying that for you guys too, because if I don't know if those muscles are fighting me or not, because I've been using them all my life. So they feel natural and normal to me, except I don't want them coming down when I'm actually singing. So to be aware of that, you will need to use your thumb under there to feel exactly what's going on. So that would be the next thing that I would do. Then I would go back to what I used to do all the time before. I would always start with the lip trill. Now I have changed it and I do these first because I want to be in a really clear, free place before I go back to doing the lip trill. So now I'll take you through that. Now I do that in a very specific way as well. I start here and think down. And the other thing I start to do, because I've had a trouble with falling back in my throat, I try to think, and you'll get this concept eventually, that as I'm coming down, bringing those notes down, I don't want it to fall back in my throat, so I'm directing my vocal cords to not lose my air. This will make sense to you in a bit. And to not lose my air by coming together this way. They came together. I didn't lose my, instead of go back there. So let me do a little bit of it for you. And I can't take a breath on that first note. Otherwise, I'm lost in the back of my throat. So I'll go through that, and I'll do that quite a bit. Then I will go to the tongue trill. Now, some of you may not be able to do the tongue trill. Don't worry about it. You'll do something else. Just use the method of using your thumb under here and have your jaw and use a different sound. But if you can do the tongue trill, this is a great one to start to do it with. Let me show you here. I'm going to move it up a little bit. Okay. I want to feel freedom. So I'll do that. And now I'm feeling in a pretty good place. But now I know that because of the other habits that I've had and the restrictions that I've had, intervals become a little more challenging. And an interval means when you're moving from a lower note to a higher note. I'm moving from a lower note to a higher note. Now, if you've been used to pushing you'll start to do that, and you'll get really locked if you start to do that when you get higher. So I need to change all of that. So I'm going to do that, my interval training here on this exercise, and you'll hear, I'm going to do it in the A sound. It'll be a little bit easier for you to start off with. Now I've got to close as I go higher, because I have a tendency to want to do that. So that's kind of all. That's take it as high as you can. If you start to feel yourself starting to choke up or strain, then stop. Then the other thing I will do is I'll do an exercise with vowel sounds in it that are more of what I call a combination, because you want to develop a kind of freedom or flexibility in your voice. I'm going to use the same exercise again so you can hear what I'm talking about, and I'm going to do it on two sounds, E-A. And I always like to think, because this gives me in a good place, I think vertically hearing that the sounds are staying in the same place. E-A. The A came back in the same place. When I'm able to do that, I know I'm not falling back in my throat or going wide, as I call it. Let me do a little bit of that for you. I'm right here. Now in all of these, you just hear me doing the ascending, the exercises going up. But I will then go and do the descending exercise as well. And I'm going to do a little bit of that because I just want you to get this concept that I use on the lower notes, which is closing and going up on the lower notes. Okay, I'm going to do it on the A sound again. Let me go here. A, no, not quite that. A, Okay, so I'm trying to turn myself into a bass. But anyway, you get the idea. And I can get more of that sound if I were to practice it. I don't typically sing down there, but I could get more of that if I were to practice it. I'm saying that is because you will find that you have much more capability than you know, and you discover that as you keep practicing things and they keep getting better. Anyway, I wanted you guys to have this. This is kind of what I do in my exercise. Oh, I want to give you one other thing to think about. Just think about this. I just showed you the EA there. But I want you to also remember when you're singing, because as you've done all of this and you go back to singing a song, that you might notice a tendency for some of your words to go kind of out here. That stayed narrow and the same instead of out there. That's what I was talking about when I mentioned earlier about going wide. I don't want that to happen because it'll cut me off and throw me back in my throat. So anyway, so just practice those as much as you can. And then, but again, whenever you feel yourself straining or working too hard, stop. You don't want to reinforce bad stuff. And then you'll start to notice that you're going to develop that amazing voice over time. This was my professional vocal warm-up that now you have, and you can start to use it. All right, I'll see you guys soon.